after over 60 hours in this game, switching between each Bat family member and maxing out their level, and at best trying to get their best gear possible, I'm confident enough to say that, in my opinion, the reviewers were wrong. Let's start this from the beginning. In no way do I feel this is some sort of masterpiece. In no way do I think this is perfect nor amazing. But we got something pretty good. This game starts with the death of Batman. Batman ends up in a fight for his life with Ra's al Ghul, blowing up him and Ra's al Ghul within the Batcave. The Gotham Knights show up too late, finding underneath the rubble a dead Bruce Wayne. They all get together at the funeral, and more importantly group together as they find backup files and a backup base called the Belfry. Within the Belfry are files of all of his investigations, telling his sidekicks that Gotham needs them more than ever. His sidekicks follow Batman's last lead, which is Kurt Langstrom, who is the source to all the problems and the source to the secret group called Court of Owls. Let's begin this all with performance.
That's it!
I gotta start off with the most controversial thing in this game, which is the 30 frames per second. Feels unacceptable, and I'd rather have co-op with boundaries rather than a 30 FPS co-op of seamless open world. But for the most part, the game is a stable 30 frames. The 30 frames are not going to stop me from playing a game as long as it's stable for the most part. Facing Mr. Freeze does drop some frames, but not so crazy that it's moving like a slideshow or stuttering all jittery and crazy like. Let's start off with something more like visuals. I get what everyone is saying, and I somewhat agree. We all saw the Arkham Knight comparisons and how great the rain looks, how it pours down the Cape Crusader of Gotham, how the city's neon lights glow greatly in the dark of Gotham, how the waves clash with each other graphically. Gotham Knights is definitely not the visual eye candy that Arkham Knight is, but by no means is this an ugly game. The city really could use some detailed visual work in comparison, but this game in my opinion still looks good. And the complaints for the stoic look on their faces when conversating regularly out of cutscenes is normal. We've seen this from the past, such as Horizon Zero Dawn, Arkham games itself, and many more games that use this conversation RPG cycle. But let's move on to my other problems. Stealth. I know this is not an Arkham game, and I don't want to fully compare them like that, but the stealth options in this game are okay at best, depending on characters as well. If you are playing on hard difficulty, the AI is going to be a huge issue, negating stealth a lot, and more so if you use Nightwing or Red Hood. Overall, you can drop someone with the stealth attack, but there's a high chance of being caught, which makes this a two-choice thing: fight or re-enter into stealth guerrilla tactics. And you do this by smoke bombing into the grapple hook to re-enter stealth. My best stealth is with Batgirl, since she can hack about anything and control the battlefield with her Oracle skill tree of gadget-themed skills. Robin is also a very good stealth alongside Batgirl with his Shadow skill tree, making him hang people from vantages or use smoke bomb evades, as well as use a cloaking skill. In the Arkham games, stealth was much more of a quality theme, as Batman held all the tools to be as sneaky as possible. But in this game, it's not there. It somewhat makes sense due to the action RPG theme, but it gives me another question: why have it at all? We need to talk about the next thing, which is very aggravating in this game, which is enemy health bars. This game is pretty squishy with their enemies, which of course is part of the RPG system of a lot of games. I mean, look at God of War Ragnarok. But at times, it feels overdone no matter how strong you get. Some enemies are a little too squishy. You see, I play on hard difficulty, and even with legendary gears, with elemental builds, the boss fights are still pretty squishy, spongy. On medium difficulty, it feels like you're overpowered with legendary gear. Most things can be shot to the moon, and a lot of the times you not interrogate them because of this. There needs to be a balance between these difficulties. More And most of this talk about enemy health bars is about endgame and or legendary equipment. I would much rather have enemies with more normal health bars alongside them having high damage output instead of a huge health bar. And also, of course, faster attack animations to keep you guessing, or on high reflex mode. Now we're on to our next topic, the enemy problem. Drone Masters are by far the most annoying enemies in the game. They are annoying as hell. Seriously, what the hell is this enemy? This shit makes the veins in my forehead bulge. This game becomes a total dodge simulator when there's more than one Drone Master. I feel like I'm in some never-ending kung fu movie dodging every attack that comes at me. When you first fight just one, you are shocked, annoyed, pissed. The Drone Master summons two drones that endlessly fire at you while you try to attack the Drone Master. A Drone Master that does not stop dodging you. Seriously, the Robins can dodge bullets. They're bullet timers, but these guys can out-dodge the likes of Robin, Batgirl, Nightwing, Red Hood. The Drone Master can dodge hits from the fucking Flash if he wanted to. The only thing I could say is good luck. Make sure to use shock or freeze or some kind of elemental. Definitely target these assholes first. There's another enemy that pisses me off, and it's the Talons. These guys automatically will dodge every hit. You must use a heavy range attack to break their defense to get, your 3 to 4 hit combo in or grapple finisher. But in groups, these guys are just menacing as all hell. They have this combo that lunges and poisons, and it's pretty hard to perfect that evade, especially from their second attack. Almost feels clunky to a point, or maybe I'm just doing it wrong by overly spamming the button to dodge. Either way, these guys are annoying as hell, and the best character to beat them with is Red Hood. His range just makes it a walk in the park from these dumb assholes. Let's get on to the next topic, transmogs. Transmogs let you assign a preset outfit, a default version of the suit's designed to your suit, which pretty much ruins the whole point of customization. So basically, the only way to get some of the outfits is to farm like you fucking mean it. The farming loop of very hard crimes to get legendary gear rewards. It's just too much and does not work properly. I spent dozens of hours on this game, by far over 40 hours playing every character, not just one, and I've gotten my year 1, I think. I don't know, I think I got my demon or year 1, and I don't even know how long that took. Overall, for transmog, if you unlock a suit transmog, you should be able to customize it like you can a regular piece of gear. Or maybe the system itself needs to be switched, which would make more sense for an RPG system or even an MMO game. The bat cycle and traversal in this game. I really like the traversal for each character in the bat cycle, but there seems to be this slow feel to them. In the Arkham games, Batman can soar over buildings quickly with his grapple hook and to glide. In this game, it has speed but nothing of great value. The bat cycle needs a boost, the traversal needs a boost. Hell, maybe even give the bat cycle nitro. Something needs to be done about that. And so far, those are my negatives about the game. Now let's get on to the positives, because this game's the game I've been waiting for. I finally get to play as the Robins. These are my favorite characters in the Batman world. They have so much personality and character to them compared to someone like Bruce Wayne, in my opinion, of course. And they all have their own character. They feel different. They talk different, they look different, they are different heroes. Some, like Red Hood, even venture around the world in the comics, as well as Nightwing being the leader of the Teen Titans. We finally get to see the Robins, and I could not be happier. I want the developers to know that their positives and negatives, I don't want to be phony. I want to give out my honest opinion on games in general. My full-on opinion about this game is that they made a fun game in these positive constraints. Even with the issues, this is my top 5 favorite superhero games. So let's talk about the positives. This is, in my opinion, the second best Batman story told out of the Batman games by far. These characters feel like their respective characters by the source material, although Batgirl's voice acting and character is by far the weakest of the 4. The Court of Owls storyline is based on the comic. It's pretty good and different, since in the comics the story puts Batman as the protagonist, where this game puts the Robins and Batgirl in the role, which to me is a better fit because, again, Batman is just not that interesting to me, nor does he add to most stories in my opinion. Every character feels so right lore-wise, and the build-up and conversation with these characters are amazing. It feels like the comic book pages came to life in this game. Alfred is also a great character in this game and easily feels like the best Alfred in any Batman game and possibly live action. Alfred shows true compassion for Bruce Wayne's death. and true dedication to the Bat family, inspiring hope for them to become heroes, talking to them about their negatives and their struggles in life, and becoming a better hero over time and living with the actions of the past in a good way and at times for the worse. This is the Alfred I wanted in this game, or in any Batman game. Let's talk about Batman. The death and cinematic intro of Batman was top tier. Not shocking when you know these guys did Origins, at least a nice amount of them, and made that epic Deathstroke fight in cinematic. As you listen to that cinematic, this feels like a Batman with emotion, something I cannot say for the past Arkham games. As you progress through this game, you get multiple recordings from Batman in the city from secret chests. Batman really shows love for the Gotham Knights. It's nice to see a Batman that can be stoic and at the same time human, reminding me of the Batman from the animated show and past animated movies. Red Hood. This Red Hood is by far the best Jason Todd we got in a Batman game, so let's just ignore that dumpster fire of an Arkham Knight Red Hood we got. This Red Hood is exactly how the Red Hood from the comics are. We get a Jason Todd who will work as a team, but this also comes with problems in his anger and the Lazarus pit effects, causing problems for him and his mental. Jason tries his best to help and his best to be family with the ones who are close to him, even if he comes off as a dick at times. He tries to work with his problems while balancing the Bat family and villains around him. Just look at this amazing part in Gotham Knights.
Bruce blamed himself for your death, and for the darkness that followed. But even in the worst of times, we saw that you had the potential to emerge as a better man.
Some days I barely feel human, let alone a better man.
He believed in you, and was proud of how far you'd come. Especially after everything you've been through.
Alfred. This is by far my favorite Alfred, as I said before, in Batman games, and possibly even overall in live action DC. He's the centerpiece, he's the glue to the Bat family. His scenes truly are captivating, and every moment feels important when he speaks to the Bat family. From words of encouragement.
Alfred's playing right into Robin's trap.
Mate in two.
Wait, how'd you...
An old way. It's how Alfred wins.
Teach me.
Robin must discover his own way to win.
Robin thinks that sounds way harder.
From sorrow of Batman's death, and from great talks trying to help each other.
Before I went to Bloodhaven, he told me never to take the mask up. Not like him. Babs, it's taking everything I have not to screw this up. Everything he built is in my hands.
You don't have to do it alone, dumbass. Why do you think Bruce trained all of us?
I always forget how smart you are.
You know, each of the member of the Knights deal with loss, dealing with being the main hero, dealing with life after Batman, dealing with their own demons. Alfred really makes the cutscenes shine. Nightwing. This is also a very good Dick Grayson. Probably the best Dick Grayson we got in any of the Batman games. We get Nightwing after the failure of trying to protect Bloodhaven from what I assume is Deathstroke's doing. He feels like he cannot be Batman, that he cannot be the main hero. He sees himself as a sidekick, but even worse, he feels like he should hang up the gloves. This is a running theme in the story that more and more progresses into Nightwing's confidence going up and believing in himself, as well as getting pep talks from the likes of Alfred and motivation. Now, Tim Drake, Robin, the youngest, he's also a pretty good character, the smartest of the bunch, the boy who found out about Bruce Wayne's identity, or should I say Batman's identity, before he was ever even Robin. But during this story, we get a young teen who feels lost without Batman. Without a teacher, Tim Drake feels like he's lost in the learning curve. We get many great moments of Robin learning, improving, and second-guessing himself a lot throughout the story. Batgirl, Barbara Gordon, is in my opinion the weakest of the four in character, but still not bad. She deals with the loss of her father, Jim Gordon. The photo memory of Barbara seems to not fully be there.
Listen, if you were worried about your dad, I wanted you to know he wasn't covering for the Court of Owls.
He solved some of these cases.
Quite a few of them. He was fighting the court even if he didn't know they were.
Should have known that. I just thought... maybe I didn't know him as well as I thought I did?
You needed proof. Just like Bruce would have.
Should have found it earlier. I was Oracle. I had access to every computer system in Gotham. How could I have missed something as big as the court?
You mean, how could you have missed an evil secret society that's kept itself hidden from everyone, including your dad and Batman, for literal centuries?
That sounds like something Dick would say.
Thanks. So, now can I help with the murder dollhouse?
Sure.
Yes!
As she deals with being in her father's shoes all while trying to save the world. We get some nice scenes of this too. I wish instead of Batgirl we got Damian Wayne or Cassandra Cain, but overall this was a great cast to use. The Gotham Knight open world, Gotham itself. There's a lot of discourse about the open world being empty, and while I do somewhat agree, I somewhat don't at the same time. This is Gotham at night, a dangerous place altogether, and where most of the crime happens, you see NPCs walking still and a lot gathered at certain places, but honestly, it feels right that the people of Gotham would not want to be out at night due to the crime. This also makes me think about the Arkham games that didn't really have NPCs either, just criminals everywhere, which is what Gotham Knight does but puts them as a reward to do instead of random enemies. The open world in Gotham Knights is by far my favorite in lore, but not visually. If you do the collections, such as Historia, monuments, and posters, it gives you a real appreciation of the city itself, which I don't think people will get unless they do them. There's a lot of world building through text files, and it's nice to see and do because it stops you from just using the open world as a vehicle or traversal or loot machine, and appreciate that every part of Gotham is unique. From the south side to the rich side of Gotham, there's nice lore and comic accuracy to Gotham. Just going to different parts of Gotham and catching a view of a certain district is amazing. Every district feels different from one another in this open world. There was a lot of care put into this open world, which I cannot say for a lot of open world games I've played in the past. Sadly, a lot of what causes people not to appreciate it is that the game constantly makes you zoom around and not look around. You know, it just doesn't let you appreciate what's in front of you. Now let's talk about the RPG effect. I really enjoy RPG games and grinding a good game, so this game works real well with what it gives you outside of some issues. And of course, I am the target audience for this game. I love games like Phantasy Star Universe, Terra Online, City of Heroes, Matrix Online, Outriders, Destiny, though I'm not a big fan of Destiny like that. In many of the MMORPG games of the past, I even enjoyed some of the disastrous Marvel Avengers game. What I enjoy of the RPG stuff is that the gear increases in power not just by raw statistical values, but by getting increasingly more interesting with the perks it offers you. There's a lot of synergy combinations between gear types as well as the modifications, and I think people don't realize this. You can completely burst people to flames using pyro mods, constantly or even freeze mods, and many more AoE combinations to deal crazy damage and AoE effects. I like farming in this game because, again, I love our MMORPGs of the past, so this gear system impressively works well with the game they made. I think it's time to talk about my favorite part of this game, and that's the combat. Here's the part where people will agree or disagree with a lot of it. I've been watching this game from the first demo to the uploads of more gameplay we got over the year. I knew this was not going to be an Arkham combat system. They even told us this. I do not like that everyone, to journalists to reviewers, make this comparison, even though we saw with our own eyes this was not going to be the same thing. And in my opinion, that's good. We got 4 games of Arkham Combat. Let's do something different. We've been stuck with the Spider-Man 2 to Web of Shadows system forever. Let's do something fucking different. It's been this way since the early 2000s. Why are we still using the same gameplay system with no improvements in the combat? Why, God, why? Regardless, I appreciate and really enjoy the combat in this game. The fact is, this combat by default is made to be more measured and reward based and precise. If you button mash, you're going to take a lot longer to kill enemies than timing strikes for critical hits. Timing dodges for perfect attacks, timed hits make the animation faster as well. This game makes you think on hard difficulty about the moves you make. You need to think to kill faster, and each character has the tools in different fashion to make this work. Combat is dedicated by the animations. Combat feels slower in this game because it is a hit detection animation game. You will not do damage to enemies until the animation is done. You need to know when to cancel the animation to dodge, to get out of a sticky situation. You will not finish a lot of the combos during the combat. This game has a soft fighting game mechanics. You have your light attacks and your heavy attacks. You can do a light into heavy, which does different sequence of attack animations. Then pressing light heavy or light heavy, or even the slower animated heavy. There's always an ender to your combos, and it makes a big difference when doing elemental effect buildups. Every character has an objectively superior combo that will be most useful to either do regular or build up elemental builds. What's great about this combat is that you cannot always land your moves like you're tracking every enemy. You can miss your move, and even when you grab enemies or do a momentum ability, you can get hit. Batman never missed in Arkham games. He was like a magnet for the most part. In this game, you will be punished. You will need to understand distance. You will not be speeding like a jet to attack enemies from a mile away from each other. You will need to be within range to melee attack an enemy. The combat will take time to master for some, or most, because this is animation based, and depending on the distance, some combos may not track toward the enemy. And I find that great to build a challenge into, that combat system. Let's talk about enemies and factions. In this game, you will face the likes of someone like Harley Quinn, who's done very great, despite that weird voice Harley has, and that sometimes sounds like her and sometimes does not. There are a few side bosses and factions, and this game's open world activities are just very well made. People say things like repetitive, but that's just what open world games are, and will always be. Or most games in general, repetitive. It's a video game. It's more so about how repetitive games are done good than how repetitive they are. As you progress through the story, more and more enemy types and factions are introduced and incorporated into the open world, whether it be a big or small difference. No matter if you have 40 hours to 100 hours in this game, you will find rare strongholds you've never seen before and or rewards. What is also great about this is that the factions are usually random depending on how far you progress through the story. Factions are also district lore based. The freaks will be in one part of Gotham and the mobsters will be in the other part. Then the regulators away from those guys. This open world feels like a gold standard for AAA open world game design. There's very few systems that I feel can touch this for AAA games. This is a robust open world filled with activities for engaging with its combat system. This game is a near orgasm for fantasy fulfillment for superhero stuff. How you can investigate a crime scene, then go to the criminal's hiding place to take them out, or interrogate the enemy to find out clues or other crimes. This gives me that Web of Shadows feel, where where you truly feel like Spider-Man stopping crime around the city and it becoming crazier and crazier over time. Interrupting street crime is true aspects of a superhero game, and they pull these out Gotham City. When you think of the Bat Family, you think of caped heroes in the darkest of nights, waiting on the rooftops, watching over the criminals, watching over civilians. Hearing the crime happening and being able to swoop in feels too good, and I think it's amazing that they invested making that aspect of the game robust as possible in their development, be limited or not. I saw the reviews. I saw how little care they put into the game. I take my time playing these games that I really enjoy, and I'll never put out a half-assed review based on 1 to 5 hours of gameplay, because a game like this needs more time to be fleshed out and understood. This game is a love letter to comic book fans and a love letter to the fans who sunk in time to read and flip the pages of a comic book around the world. This game puts quality and consequence into combat instead of an easy beat 'em up style. They changed things up all around, and I respect the big swings they took in the story and gameplay, as well as the open world. It's not a perfect game, but it is a game that needs to exist, that deserves to exist, and not be nailed down by people who follow what others think, instead of trying it out themselves. This game's, not the best, but it's very good for what we got, and I think a 7 out of 10 is rightfully so for this game, and that's my final decision. Gotham Knights is a 7 out of 10.